time for tea talk, and today we're talking about our. Now, normally it's a talk about an out and out walk, but we'll call this a trip, shall we?
It definitely was a trip, wasn't it?
Because we don't go to National Trust places very often, do we, with work and everything? But we took the opportunity to go to, and let me get this right, because 50 odd years of calling it one thing. Cheers. Quick drink of that.
But you can't help still calling it what it just rolls off the tongue. But anyway, where did we go?
We went to Nostell in, it is West Yorkshire, isn't it?
It is West, yeah. I mean,
it's not South Yorkshire.
Is it Wakefield?
West Yorkshire. Yeah, Wakefield, I would always
way.
call it. Whereas, like I say, for all my life, I knew it
Back
as
in the day.
Nostell Priory. And I have, and I'm glad we came at it this way, because I have a childhood memory of driving, or, well, being driven and also driving. So over, well, a bridge, but it wasn't. It felt like it was a road because it didn't change elevation, the road. You know, a bridge, your class as...
Go up and over.
Yeah, or you're over a big...
Expanse.
Yeah, something like that. But it was just the road carried on, but at each side were huge lakes.
Yeah.
That was my memory of Nostell. But, so we did actually still go over that.
We did approach it that way, didn't we? So that was a nice moment for you.
But anyway, it was a nice... it wasn't an overly hot day, but it was busy because the children's still on holiday, of course.
Yeah, and so we were ushered straight to the
Overflow.
And
what time did we get there? It wasn't late, was it?
Midday-ish, was it?
Was it? I didn't think it was as late as that.
Well, maybe 11:30ish, but
right.
Yeah, we were.
But it was that rather
because
than...
it was a journey off for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course, yeah. But anyway, it's easy enough driving to the car park. Good signage, obviously.
Didn't have to get out of the car to pay. The lady came with
we had the sales pitch about joining, of course, National Trust, but
which absolutely top of the list once we have more time on our hands, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, that's what you need. But I think it was a £5 to park.
£5 to park. Yeah, and then obviously the entrance fee once you got up to the hall.
But
it was easy enough, wasn't it? Park up.
Yeah, piece of cake. It was on grass, but that's fine for us. So from there, walking up to, so I would class initially it was two bits for us. It was the courtyard and it was the house. Now I would have said when we walked up, it would be easy if you were going to look at the house to walk straight to the house and not realise that you have to actually go into the courtyard.
Well, because it's got your attention, hasn't it? The house.
Yeah.
You're looking. You're wandering, and then you're like,
making a beeline.
Heck, where do we pay?
Because they would turn you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to go into the courtyard, which is off to the left.
And I think
as you walk
we were wary of that because that's how it is at Benningborough Hall, and we'd sort of.
Don't you at Benningborough actually can't get in until you go past the ticket office?
Well, yeah, I suppose it is. But I just thought you paid in a courtyard area. Maybe it isn't Benningborough Hall then.
But anyway, I mean, the important thing for people if they're going to Nostell is that if you walk straight up to the house, you'll be turned around
to go get your ticket.
And go and get your ticket. Yeah. And the thing is, the signage isn't that great to show that you have to go into the courtyard. But we went into the ticket office, got the tickets. I think it was £12.
Yeah.
And we asked the question about filming. Obviously, for hiking seniors do, because there is there's a couple of walks. So we wanted to check, and it was quite funny, I thought, because the lady on reception said, "Oh, you'll have to hang on. Let me just speak to my manager, or you speak to them." So that chap was busy with somebody. But then when he came and we asked him, his exact, he was a bit puzzled. You told them you spoke to central office.
Well, ahead of going, I got the okay from the National Trust themselves, but they did say, please ask at the property in case there's a special event or there's some safeguarding issues or something like that. So,
but the great line that he gave us was, of course, that, well, yes, no problem at all. But to be honest, if you had and you hadn't have asked, how would we know? So, that was the thing of, it was a case of, well, no, that's not us. No.
We sought permission, not forgiveness.
Absolutely.
On this occasion.
But then in the house, we could have said, if anybody had said anything, we said, we've had the clearance from from, and I could remember his name on the day. Unfortunately, I can't now. But I thought the courtyard was, dare I say, typical National Trust. Flower set, bookshop, second-hand bookshop, toilets, cafe,
bit of a garden centre,
pop-up bookshop. But it is what it is.
But there's the main cafeteria, if you want to call it that, is in there. There was also a quick snack shop that the staff seem to be using.
That was next to the second-hand bookshop. Yes.
That looks like you could just grab a bit if you were just going to go walk off into the.
Which grounds. I would now say, given that the last 3 National Trust properties we've been to have all had one, that is now a common thing, a second-hand bookshop.
Oh yeah.
Everyone's had it. I mean, I didn't know, from the past, but now, I'm probably wrong. It's probably just coincidence.
No, I remember there was one in, I think, down in Derbyshire. We're in Elam Village. That was my first experience of one.
But anyway, we had a quick wander around there, but only very quick because we told ourselves we'd go back later. But we did go into the bookshops and the pop-up bookshop just to get our bearings and things like that before wandering up to the house. And before we got to the house, it was quite sweet, wasn't it? Because with the kids being on holiday, what had they got?
Well, they put a mini Olympics out, hadn't they, for them?
I thought it was great.
There was all sorts. And there was even a podium. Which...
Yeah, good old traditional wooden one.
Yeah.
But there wasn't room. It was because the new ones, of course, that they have at the Olympics are really wide,
so
just in case there's teams.
Yeah.
But also, what can happen, of course, is the gold medalist calls up his bronze and silver compadres, and they all have a stand on the top, don't they? Couldn't do that one. No. That was certainly meant for kiddies, but no, it was
it's been
very
well
sweet.
Used, wasn't it? There was badminton, all sorts.
No, absolutely.
And then just a few steps on into the house.
Yeah. Now the first thing I remember about that is that because we got our rucksacks on, we were told to take them off, which is fair enough. I can appreciate that.
You just turn around and you take out an artefact that is totally priceless.
But the lockers, they were all the same size, and they were meant really for small bags, handbags, rucksacks maybe your size, but rucksack my size was a bit of a struggle.
I mean, we did
to get in there.
Shoving and a pushing, we got it in, didn't we? Took your sticks off, but they're just a note to that, really.
Now, I must admit, I think the one thing I always look forward to seeing in houses, and I think I asked you before we actually walked in, is are the kitchens still there? Because I know when we went to Ormsby Hall, it was something that I wanted to see, and all they'd done in the kitchens there. The range was there, but there was nothing else. It just set out like a cafeteria. So here, I was disappointed, but it was softened by the fact that there was no kitchens, but there was Butler's pantries, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, and the
housekeeper's room. That's right.
Yeah, and the main thing that stands out for me there is the safe.
Oh yeah, of course.
Safe. I mean,
for the silver.
Yeah. I mean, we actually could go into it, but that was a proper vault.
Yeah, no, it wasn't just a locked door, was it?
No, it wasn't just behind a...
It was a bank vault,
absolutely.
Essentially.
So to have the key to that, you were high up in the hierarchy.
Yeah, no, I thought it was brilliant. I mean, I remember there was a rack. Can you remember, just off the main room, there was a rack with upturned decanters.
Oh.
Because, of course, that is how they dried decanters.
Yeah, because the water would remain, wouldn't it? And the mould and everything.
But it was a proper rack.
Absolutely.
That's how they were stored.
Beautiful. And also, I think this was in the housekeeper's room, was it? There was all the filing system it was a wonderful wooden cupboard with all the drawers and for all the different chits for the different parts of the estate. I mean, it was a massive operation, wasn't it, running an estate? And we were down in the engine there. Yeah, it was.
No, I loved
fascinating.
It. I must admit, I prefer that because we're walking upstairs. You recognised furniture as being Chippendale. I wouldn't for my life.
Fireplaces and
and the Adam fireplaces, but I wouldn't. But I recognised a Eubank carpet cleaner. That's what I recognised. But there you go. Because I didn't know anything about who lived there or anything like that.
There was a special. I mean, it was the Winn family ultimately, but there was a special exhibition to follow, and it was about the French lady that had married into the family, wasn't it? And how sort of out of place, and how she, sort of became quite reclusive, but obviously took on the role of managing this wonderful estate while her husband was away, and all the letters between them, and the majority of them were still in French because she could only really express herself well in French. So it was a nice thing for them to call out and draw out from the history, through the story of Sabine. I think it was you did learn about the house in that period, and it was towards the end of its life with the Winn family, and you sort of, she did have children, but I just think, yes, it was it was an undertaking, wasn't it, taking on this responsibility. She was taken away from her native France and her family, and then and there was advice from different people, and mother giving her advice as to how to endear herself to which parts of the household, and I found it absolutely fascinating.
And that's that I am. It's easy for me to get confused. Is this the couple that knew each other a very short period?
Very short period.
I mean, as in,
did they meet on a boat or
days
something?
in weeks?
It was or a holiday in Switzerland.
Love at first sight kind of thing. You will be my wife.
But through the letters, you got that. And he was sorry that he was away, and and it wasn't one of these sort of arranged marriages. It was
sure enough.
You obviously did need a wife and whatever, but
fitted the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. But there was love.
It was handy that they were in love. Yeah. So I with all these houses, I'm always fascinated by when you can look out of a window and think, so they'll have built this house and said another 2 degrees left. Yeah, perfect.
Gotcha.
There you go, for where the sun rises, the avenue of trees. I mean, trees can come later, but you know what I mean, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
The vista that you get from
and the living room and the main rooms where they were entertaining. I mean, she found that a struggle, did Sabine, but all had that wonderful aspect looking down over. I mean, it's park farmland now, isn't it? There was a wonderful herd of cattle on it now.
Oh yeah. But we had a good wander around, didn't we?
We did. There was wonderful wallpaper. There was the chinoiserie room, and it is amazing. And then it was this house, wasn't it? I'm not mistaken, where there was a bit of wallpaper, and they explained how it had lead in it, and uncovered a bit of it, haven't they? Yeah.
Because I remember the stateroom, very, very opulent to show off.
Yeah. Usher them straight upstairs, get them in there. Look, this is what we're about.
And the other distinct memory I have of it inside the house was I'm going to say the library, because there was a few areas with books, but certainly the library, because there was some very dry titles in there. Absolute shelves and shelves full of government. It wasn't legislation. It was almost like
Hansard or something.
Crikey! It was almost a case of, you can imagine
shelves will fill.
Well, that somebody bought the books by the weight or by the meter. I'll have. Have you got? Well, not meters, obviously. I'll have 20 yards of
Sabine
books.
Would have done being French.
Of course, yeah. I'll have 20 yards of books, please. To fill my library up.
And in the library, they had, between the shelves, had that little piece of velvet. It was.
Oh yes, to hang over. Yeah.
Wonderful. What I noted about this property, though, because you don't often see it, although I do remember them from the Castle of May. But anyway, was bathrooms. We actually saw loos and proper plumbing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was lived in, wasn't it, until the 50s, 60s? Can't quite remember. But there were a couple of bathrooms. But
kids will be baffled by the plug system.
Yeah.
Shower systems.
Yes, and you see it all. You see all the gubbins over it.
Yeah, they'd have no idea what that was going on. But
yes, we actually saw posh loos.
Yeah, no, lovely. Didn't use them, obviously, but there you go. So the house was great. Enjoyed going into the house. I mean, as I say, normally we're talking about walks we've done. The walk was a sideline to go into the whole, the whole estate, shall we say? Because I think around the estate, how long was the walk that we did?
Crikey, a couple of miles.
2 miles tops.
I mean, 2.5 miles. I think it says here that's the challenging route.
So officially, we did the walk from the house up to the Obelisk Lodge, which was the old. Well, it was an entrance. I don't think it was the entrance, was it?
I think it was originally.
Oh, it was the entrance.
Yeah, because Adam designed it. It was, and this is called the carriageway. So
fine.
But then I think they, later turned it round, and it was more in the way that we actually drove in. But yeah.
So if you can describe it, as you're walking up to it, it is an obelisk, but it's got two sides to it, hasn't it? Where
because it's the gate, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the gate house.
Yeah.
So
and
the
it was
carriages
the gateman's house.
Yeah.
His family
No, absolutely.
house. So sorry.
No, the fact that there was, like I say, we've read the plaques, didn't we? That there was 2 rooms on each side, either side of the carriageway.
Yeah.
And it was used for 200 years. That people lived there and
to the 50s.
Yeah.
The 1950s.
And that was the way that people came, and their job was to basically open the gates to let visitors and the family on carriages and horses and.
Yeah.
I suppose in the 50s, probably something else, but...
and the only addition had been a little back kitchen, hadn't it?
Yes.
At one point. But there was part of the plaque said that in the, howling gale, they would literally be going... Because one side was the kitchen and the living area, the other side was the bedroom. They'd had to walk across, so through the gated, cobbled area outside to get to bed.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. It was minute, really, wasn't it?
Oh, crikey, yeah. I mean, a good-sized kitchen now... Well, yeah, kitchen or lounge was the whole house,
including the cobbles for the
carriages. Carriageway, yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then, as I say, I enjoyed. So when we got up to there, it wasn't a pull or anything daft like that, but steady incline.
We've missed one thing as we went. We've jumped to the lodge, the piece that fascinated you.
Oh, sorry,
on the
yes.
way round.
Well, yeah, the boathouse.
I mean, we come back to it, don't we? But
the boathouse, which is midway, just to the side, obviously, of the lake. But it was something out of a Eden Blyton, book, wasn't it? It was absolutely gorgeous. So how could you describe that? So, small pond with a very low slung boathouse, because a boathouse that you see on the lakes and on TV and stuff like that is a story high, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't get the impression that someone could have been stood up in the boat.
Was it actually part of the view? They'd used the contour of the land. Was it built into the side of the?
Absolutely. Yeah, it wasn't.
Wasn't a structure.
No.
They
You didn't
shored it up, I guess.
Absolutely no. It was very low slung, but it just, like you say, kind of became part of the landscape.
Yeah. You only saw it from one side. Approaching it, you didn't. So from the house, you
no
see
height
it.
to it at all.
And then there was that pond where I presume you could swing the boat round and then
go under the bridge
into
the main lake. No, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Like I think we commented at the time, if you'd have been lucky enough to be brought up in a time where that was used and you were a kid there, you'd never be, every day you'd be wolfing your breakfast down to run down to the boathouse to be messing around in a boat and on the lake all day. But hey ho.
Anyway, back to Obelisk. So we left Obelisk Lodge and then took there's a cycle route up there, isn't there, which is cycles
which would have been more interesting, if I'm honest, because it went through the wood, didn't it?
I know, but it was, pedestrians were not allowed. So that's fair enough, because it's...
Yeah, I can imagine neither group wants to meet the other.
No.
A cyclist doesn't want to think they can't...
I don't always hear them coming up behind me.
No,
and so it's
I don't.
Yeah. But then we walked along, which we don't often do, we walked along the wood margin, didn't we? And that opened up a whole host of other possibilities, didn't it? So
used our favourite app to understand what some of the plants and flowers were. So really enjoyed that.
Were
oh yeah, there was lots. They were out, weren't they?
It was lovely. And it was up on sort of elevated, and it was hot at that point, wasn't it? The sun was out, and it was beautiful. It really was. So from there, we walked down Obelisk Park, and then it was back round past the boathouse, and we headed for that funny cabin. Did we think that was like a cricket pavilion or something?
It looked like...
It was a bit run down, wasn't it? But it was very ornate. It wasn't just a shed.
It wasn't. So I would have said it looked like a cricket pavilion, but then when you looked at the lay of the land in front of it, even if you'd have said 100 years ago, it wasn't a cricket pavilion. Right, okay. So it could easily have been... I think we've seen them before, haven't we? I'll tell you where we saw them. We saw them up at Balmoral. Not as grand. Well, sorry, Balmoral was grand, but it was just a house or a structure outside where they could have taken a picnic. Didn't have to go back to the house. Family,
shelter,
could have
sat.
Nice little summer house. But it wasn't. It's hard to describe, isn't it? But no, that was quite sweet. Really enjoyed that.
And then we were looking how to get into the the gardens, the kitchen gardens behind the house, weren't we? So.
And this is the true to National Trust. You had to go through the shop.
Courtyard.
You had to go through the courtyard.
Yeah,
there was no. You're not escaping like being at a theme park.
At that point, we did have. We didn't mention this. The ticket gave us a wristband, didn't it?
Yes.
And then it came. I understood why we got a wristband so that we could just then walk straight through there.
Can you go to the gardens and not to the house then?
I presume they usually.
That's
have
a different price, is it?
Yeah, it was slightly cheaper.
Right, okay.
But the guy just wanted to see at that point, didn't he? That
and there's two main things, isn't there, that you go through there? I mean, there was still more play area for kids because there were a few games out, Skittles,
Jenga.
Was there? All right. Yeah. A few other things like that. But the two main things are the kitchen garden and the rose garden, aren't they?
Yeah.
Which, we headed straight to.
But there was, I always like to see these. There's the obligatory massive deck chairs.
Oh yeah,
the National
absolutely.
Trust symbol and Nostell on.
Took a picture of them.
Oh no, I want to sit in them, but they're usually taken, or kids look at you thinking, "What you play that?" But yeah.
And the kitchen garden, I must admit, I really enjoyed.
And it was a working garden, wasn't it? All the guys were around.
I think we saw 4 of them, didn't we?
Yeah.
Were they were wheelbarrowing something out? There must have been big and heavy. There was 3 of them.
I think that
on the wheelbarrow.
Yeah, they were clearing away something that had gone over, hadn't they? Yeah, absolutely. But no, we spent a lot of time in here.
Oh yeah, I mean there was all sorts. Wasn't there? Banana trees, there's artichokes. I mean pumpkins galore.
The artichokes were. I mean the banana trees, wow! But the artichokes were sort of up to my waist height. They were beautiful, weren't they? They were.
I mean, we I think we commented before we found it that we were looking out for the fig tree.
Yep.
And sure enough, we found it.
It was very close to the end of our
walk,
but we did find it.
Well, you spotted it as per.
But there was the gooseberries. There was all sorts of wonderful fruits.
Yeah, but same as we see in a lot of these places. I think I think there was a sign here that actually said "Don't pick," whereas at again I mention it again, Benningborough.
Yeah.
I think there wasn't a sign that said "Do pick." But there was somebody that was went last time we were there that regularly went that commented that no absolutely you're fine.
Oh right.
Here we saw, well I'll say tons of rhubarb that had gone over.
Yeah, and another visitor said, "Oh, it's such a shame," and it is, isn't it?
It is a shame.
But,
because that's not now. I mean, you commented that they'll be using the fruit and vegetables in the cafes and things like that, and I'm sure we saw that guy later on, didn't we, with his one potato, a gardener, and you said he's having his baked potato for tea,
and then the next thing he's had his rucksack and he was leaving it. He was knocking off time, so it was his tea.
So we literally dug up a potato.
But we're not dubbing him in.
No, we're not. We're not identifying him. But no, I mean I love the kitchen garden. We saw companion planting.
We did with the cabbages, and it was working, wasn't it? Because the cabbages on the margins were absolutely shot to bits.
Absolutely, being eaten alive.
Marigolds further in had sorted that out.
Can you remember the what should we call it? The rude specimen we saw?
We had a rude tree.
We did. I'll not say the most, well, not the most crude. Well, I suppose it was. It was called Monkey's Bottom. I can't
Common Medlar.
Common Medlar.
Sort of, yeah.
But let's just say another name for it is it's Open Bottom is the name. It's got a like a star effect on it, and anyway, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But
well, we didn't. You got the app out, didn't you, to identify it? And I thought you were just making that up.
I wouldn't do that.
I didn't have my glasses on.
I wouldn't do that at all. I read it verbatim.
Oh crikey, what's this?
Because I needed it, of course, because I thought they were just silver birch, but we found what are they called?
Paper
birch trees.
So there's a lovely avenue, wasn't there, going back towards the house, and it was starting to make an autumnal noise, and the tree bark itself
absolutely brilliant,
was just,
I knew the birch lose their bark, but it was not bark at all. It is wafer thin.
Wafer thin, paper thin. Yeah.
Mr. Creosote would appreciate. And then the rose garden you walk through to get to the sunroom, summer house.
That could do with a bit of attention, really, couldn't it?
It could. It looked a bit.
Yeah. But basically, it's. I mean, if you compare it to Balmoral, it reminded me of where they had all the geraniums.
No, right, yes.
Like that, you know, and it wasn't. But it had a wonderful local history. It was interesting. It did capture our interest.
Yeah, it was
for
something
a while.
about the pits, wasn't there?
All about photography.
That was it.
Photographs from across, and it was
a bit of art in there.
And there was showing photographs from the 70s and 80s, so that definitely appealed to us, didn't it? See, crikey, that looks like the 1930s, not the 80s. I
think I commented there was some quote from a kid talking about his dad going down the pit, and well, that language is wrong. they'd made it more recognisable.
Yes, I think they sort of sanitised it.
But there you go. And I can remember when we walked out as well, the thing that caught both our eyes. So
there's an ornate lawn outside.
There is, isn't there?
In an arc similar to the shape of the sunroom.
But I can't remember what the sculpture was.
Oh, I can't.
But it was a fountain, wasn't it?
And it's like a Venus sculpture, wasn't it? Coming from an oyster shell. But yes, and all around it was surrounded by this wonderful nodding, it looked like a grass, didn't it? Up out.
Yeah.
What was it called?
Angel's Fishing Rod.
Yeah.
Was it called Angel's Fishing Rod?
Yeah,
wasn't it?
Angels, and literally you could see how it.
Oh,
the flowers had gone over. Sadly, we'd been probably a couple of weeks too late, but absolutely, it was
because the angle was just right, wasn't it?
They just dipped into the ponds, didn't they? No, it was lovely.
Really I enjoyed all that. The kitchen garden for me, great. Love a kitchen garden.
And it inspires you. You see it, don't you? And you think, yeah, absolutely, because it's just crack on, get a bit of land going, whatever.
Oh, crikey, self-sustained or what?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot there.
It's just soft, slowly, isn't it? You don't do all that. I mean, there was half a dozen folk looking after that. But I mean, the cabbages, a couple of cabbages, a bit of marigold, and
you're away. But then from there, again, you have to go back into
out of the gate that they asked you not to slam because it was very delicately, wasn't it? It was a lovely iron gate. Back round.
Into the shop.
We did go in the shop.
We did. It's typical National Trust shop.
Yeah, chocolates, hats,
candles,
wooden toys,
books, that kind of thing, which is fair enough. Not that we bought anything, but had a look at the odd stuff, didn't we? Contemplated an ice cream, passed on that.
I think we were. Well, yeah, and also I think I was fancying a Mr. Whippy type, and it was Scoop, wasn't it? And that was just me on the day. It's no slur on what they were offering.
But I think we probably spent 3 hours.
Oh yeah, I would say
4 hours maybe.
Yeah. Well, it felt
we didn't rush around the house. We didn't rush around anything. Time was our own, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, we only did. There were several other walks. We only did the walk up to the obelisk. We didn't go to the menagerie.
No, sure, but the walk for me was just to stretch your legs.
Yeah.
We did see, like you say, margins of the wood, which was great. The obelisk was great. The boathouse, superb. But as regards walking in, Parkland, that was a tick in the box. But it was an estate walk. It was absolutely fine. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But not what we're used to. But I enjoyed the day thoroughly.
And I did find it tiring in the sense, I felt like I'd done a 13-miler at the end of it. I don't know. Maybe it's that stop starting for me, but no, it was. So
not Nostell Priory, but Nostell. We
just one thing to say, very accessible though.
Oh, absolutely.
The paths were super.
What about upstairs in the house?
Did it have a lift? I don't know.
We wouldn't know, would we?
Won't we know?
Because thankfully we didn't need to use it. But no, I think we'll go again. Don't think we need to go next week. Don't think we missed anything. We did. We gave it a right good go, didn't we?
Might be interesting to see what they do for Christmas or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It is, but
that's a good idea. Actually, we'll contemplate that.
Yeah.
Nostell Nostell.